In this video, we will try to make an orientation about the muscles, arteries and nerves of the middle ear. This is the middle ear region and this is the posterior aspect, this is the anterior aspect, this is the superior aspect, this is the inferior aspect, and here is the medial aspect. We are seeing from the lateral view. So first we will be seeing about the muscles of the middle ear. There are two in number. First one is tensor tympani, which is this muscle over this region. Second one is the stapedius muscle, which is present over this region. So first we will see about the tensor tympani. The tensor tympani arises from the cartilaginous part of the auditory tube. This is the auditory tube and cartilaginous part will lie over this region. So the tensor tympani arises from the cartilaginous part, also from the sulcus tubae, and the muscle passes backward through a bony canal above the auditory tube and along the medial wall of the tympanic cavity. Here you can very well see the tendon. Here lies the tendon. The tendon of the tensor tympani turns laterally around the processus trochleariformis, which is not shown in this diagram. We can assume here will be the processus trochleariformis, and this tendon will be inserted into the root of the handle of the malleus. This muscle is supplied by the trunk of the mandibular nerve through otic ganglion. Here is the otic ganglion. So you can see the nerve supplying the muscle arising from the otic ganglion. You can very well see the nerve supplying the muscle. Now the next muscle is stapedius. Stapedius is shown over this region. It is an asymmetrical bipinnate muscle and arises from the pyramidal eminence on the posterior wall of the tympanic cavity. Here is the pyramidal eminence, and the tendon passes forward through the aperture at the apex of the eminence and is inserted to the posterior surface of the neck of the stapes. Here you can see the stapes and you can see the neck of the stapes, and the tendon is inserted into the posterior surface of the neck of the stapes. It is supplied by the facial nerve. We can see the facial nerve over this region, and the facial nerve supplying the stapedius muscle. It draws the stapes laterally. Both the tensor tympani and stapedius contract reflexly and simultaneously and exert damping effect of sound vibrations to protect the internal ear from loud sounds. Now we will be seeing about the arteries of the middle ear. 6 sets of arteries supply the tympanic cavity. We will be seeing one by one. So first, this is the external carotid artery. This is the internal carotid artery. The maxillary artery shown over here, which is dissected over this region, removed over this region to show the internal carotid artery and plexus, nerve plexus around the artery. So this branch will be the superficial temporal, this branch will be the maxillary artery, this branch will be the posterior auricular artery. You can see the posterior auricular artery gives off a stylomastoid branch which passes through the stylomastoid foramen over this region, this stylomastoid artery. Then it enters the middle ear through the foramen for the cauda tympani nerve. You can very well see the artery over this region entering with the cauda tympani. You can see the cauda tympani nerve here. Now this one will be the deep auricular artery. This artery will be the deep auricular artery. It enters into the middle ear cavity. This branch will be the anterior tympanic artery from the maxillary artery. That also enters the middle ear cavity through the medial end of petrotympanic fissure. Now this is the continuation of the maxillary artery, and this is the middle meningeal artery. From the middle meningeal artery, you can see two arteries emerge. You can see the emerging of the two arteries over this region. Now one of them will be the superior tympanic artery and another will be the petrosal branch of the middle meningeal artery. The petrosal branch enters through the hiatus for the greater petrosal nerve. Superior tympanic branch enters through the canal for the tensor tympanic. Then this will be the artery of the pterygoid canal. This artery of the pterygoid canal, they pass along the auditory tube into the medullary cavity. Then last one will be the tympanic branches of the internal carotid artery. You can see the internal carotid artery over this region. You can see one branch is passing to the medullary along this region. This will be the tympanic branch of the internal carotid artery. Now we will be seeing about the nerves of the middle ear. First one will be the superior and inferior caroticotympanic nerves. This is the internal carotid artery. So the nerve plexus lying over this region will be the carotid plexus. So one of the caroticotympanic nerves is shown over here. Probably inferior caroticotympanic nerve, superior caroticotympanic nerve is not shown in this diagram. That is entering into the medullary cavity. So caroticotympanic nerves, superior and inferior. Next one will be the tympanic branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve. So this will be the tympanic branch of glossopharyngeal. It enters through the canaliculus at the floor of the tympanic cavity. Then it forms a tympanic plexus over the promontory after joining with the caroticotympanic nerves. This is the region of the tympanic plexus, and some of the fibers from the tympanic plexus have to supply the parotid gland, secretomotor fibers for the parotid gland. They leave the tympanic cavity and pass along as the lesser petrosal nerve. This will be the lesser petrosal nerve. Now the next nerve that is related with the medullary cavity will be the chorda tympani. We have already seen. This will be the region of the chorda tympani. It runs forward through the lateral wall of the medullary cavity, and means between the fibrous and the mucous layers of the tympanic membrane. Last nerve will be the facial nerve. You can see the course of the facial nerve. Very well see the course of the facial nerve over this region. This will be the geniculate ganglion, and it crosses obliquely from the medial to the posterior wall. Then it passes vertically downwards posterior to the posterior wall of the medullary cavity. The facial nerve gives off mainly 3 branches in relation with the medullary cavity. First branch will be the greater petrosal nerve, which arises from the geniculate ganglion. Second nerve will be the nerve to stapedius muscle, which passes at the region of the pyramidal eminence. Third branch will be the chorda tympani nerve, which is lying over this region, and this arises about 6 mm above the stylomastoid foramen. This will be the stylomastoid foramen, and chorda tympani arises from this region, which is about 6 mm above the stylomastoid foramen. That's all about the muscles, arteries and nerves of the middle ear.